Hi guys, Richard here. I want to talk a little bit about what guitar tone is, or what I define it as. It's wiggly air, right? Which is next to breathable, my second favorite type of air. Guitar tone is, to me, a system. It is a wide number of variables that come together to produce a final sound, a final tone, and it's personal to each and every player. That's why there's so many signature amps. Well, that and corporate greed. That's why there's so many signature amps and so many signature sounds, because guitar tone is such a widely variable system. It's not just, I'm going to do one thing to my guitar and that's going to make my tone just be the best tone ever. I'm going to sound just like Joe Satriani if I go buy a GS100 or whatever. You're not. So let's take it from the player to the amplifier, to the air. Let's talk about what tone is. And I'll try to make this quick and concise because I really want to have this be a palatable video so that you guys will chat with me and tell me what you think. I want to know what you think about guitar tone. So, we've all heard the phrase that guitar tone is in the fingers of the player. Like when you refer to people like Slowhand, Eric Clapton, or Stevie Ray Vaughan or Jimi Hendrix, they say, "Oh, it's in his hands." Yeah, it kind of is. It's part of it. But, while they will be able to play the same on whatever rig they're on, the tone won't be the same. But how you play shapes your tone. So when you're using your fretting hand especially, some people push down harder when they fret. So like here's a D, D5 power chord, and now here's the way punk guys play it. Right, you press down harder. Or finger pickers. So different tones just with your fingers can be achieved. But that's not all it is. So you take the next step. Well, what kind of pick are you using? Or are you using your fingertips? If you're using your fingertips, you're going to have a more round sound than if you're using a pick. If you're using a lighter pick, you're probably going to have a more scraped sound and not as much attack. I like to use 1.14 mil Dunlops normally. And they have a lot of attack and a lot of control. Because I've been in like prog metalish bands in the past. You can't tell I'm out of practice right now. Where I'd have to be very accurate in my picking. So that was a big part of it. So I used a hard pick. So, the fingers, the player, the pick, the strings have another small effect on your tone. I have used all kinds of strings and I keep going back to my tried and true Ernie balls. Simply because they're the right price for the right product. They last long enough for me before they start rusting because I change my strings on guitars I play a lot relatively often. But, and I don't like things like NanoWeb or elixirs that have the coating built in because I can, some people say it's placebo, but I can always hear the difference in the tone. Like it sounds duller to me. Guitar tone is your fingers, your pick, your strings, your pickups, of course. When you're playing an electric guitar, to me, one of the largest effects on your tone, besides your amp, are your pickups. Are you using single coil? Or are you using something with a higher output? Are you using something with a little bit lower output like these Duncan design ones here? Which, I need to introduce this guitar, by the way. This is my Samick CD2. I just recently got Samick Concord. Just a beautiful guitar. I've been wanting one of these for a long time. Pickups, strings, hands, guitar picks. The wood of the guitar. That's a big one. Here's where I stand on tone wood. So prepare your hate comments, okay? I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I know. I have heard acrylic guitars sound phenomenal. I have heard tone wood guitars sound like crap. The pickup choice is so much different. Does it have some bearing on your tone? Yes, I believe the wood has a bearing on the sustain. That is directly related to the vibration of the string. which is related to the pickups, which is a magnetic field. That's what a pickup does. Your strings disturb the magnetic field of the pickup, which creates an electrical voltage, and that goes out of your guitar into your amp. So, the wood on an acoustic, yes. On an electric, it doesn't affect it as much, except for maybe the sustain. So you may have a slightly fuller sounding chord and longer ringing notes, barely. Like I said, it's a system. No one thing is going to magically change your tone. So your strings got to connect to your guitar somehow, so they go through your bridge, and this is a surface mount, 2-pneumatic style. These are not string through, so this is just mounted on its own thing. So all the vibration has to transfer through the bridge and through the nut to the guitar, and that affects your tone as well. So if you have a better bridge, one that I think, in my opinion, again, this is all opinion, and from what I've learned doing this, if you have a bridge that's mounted to the body, tightly to the body, and your strings go through the body, you're going to transmit more vibration, which again, better for sustain, better for maybe a slightly rounder tone. And the same thing can be said for the nut. You know, what material is your nut made out of? Is it going to make that big of a difference? No. Is it going to make more of a difference to your tuning stability? Yes. That's why I choose Graphtec for my nuts. I like the fact that the strings slide through the slots better, stays in tune better. As far as tonally, transmits vibration maybe a little bit better. Maybe bone is a little better than Graphtec. But again, it's all personal preference. So all of that affects tone, right? So people even say that the size of the headstock affects the tone as well. So if you have a larger headstock, it's going to vibrate a lot of the energy away down on that end of the guitar. Your strings aren't going to vibrate as much, so you're going to lose a little sustain. So it's kind of like you're ticking boxes. So more sustain here, less sustain there, slightly rounder tone here, slightly brighter tone there. So after you get everything done with your guitar, your fingers, your picks, your playing, all that, you're going through the electronics. The impedance of your electronics is going to affect your tone a little bit. You're going through your chord. The chord's going to affect the tone a little bit. You know, a silver wire chord is going to be able to reject noise ever so slightly better. It's going to have better conductivity. So you may get probably a brighter tone out of a silver chord over a copper one. But it's the equivalent of putting a slightly brighter pickup in your guitar or turning the brightness up on your amp. And your amp has a huge impact on your tone, right? So if you're playing through a little first act amp, it's going to sound like that. However, there are plenty of ways to mic crappy amps or blend crappy guitar tones in a mix to get a really good sound. I've recorded entire albums with solid state amps. I've recorded albums with and music with a 4x12 mic'd up in the shed, cranked up to 100 decibels. You know, cranked. Not that high. I meant to say 100 watts. Been a long day. It's always been a long day. I notice that as I get older, every day's a long day, but I feel like time's going by faster. Your amp has all kinds of circuits and knobs and a speaker, all kinds of variables. So you can't just say it's the amp that affects the tone. That speaker does too. That type of transformer in your amp does too. You know, every single knob does too. You know, it does its own job, but it also affects the impedance of the signal. Guitar tone is a series of variables, and we haven't even touched pedals yet. You know, pedals, you know, another infinite variable, and it changes. You know, the more pedals you run and the more wire you run in between your signal and the amp, the more likely you're going to get noise, and the more likely there is you're going to lose high end. Especially like long cable runs, you're going to lose some high end because, again, copper is not the best conductor. It's a great conductor. It's not the best, especially for low signals like guitar signal, very low output. So guitar tone, philosophically, is personal to the player. In reality, it's a combination of different factors that create a working system that you call your tone. And it can change from guitar to guitar, from player to player, from amp to amp, pickup to pickup, pick to pick, style to style, string to string, pedal to pedal. There are so many variables, but that's what's so cool. That's what's so awesome about guitar tone. It can be so personal, but you can take a little bit of knowledge about your favorite player. You can learn what they use, and you can capture some of that sound. And then you can take another of your favorite players and you can do that again. You can meet a guy on the street or at a show playing a guitar and ask him what he's doing to sound like that. And you can take that knowledge home and put it in your little tone cauldron and create your own sound. That's what's so beautiful about guitar playing and music. Thank you guys for watching. I want to hear your thoughts on guitar tone and what you describe guitar tone as. How would you explain it? Probably a lot less long-winded than me, one can hope. But thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.